All right, Brett. Well, thanks for taking the time to come in today. Appreciate that in advance. So let's start with some definition of terms. How are you defining the term money market?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Rick. Well, it's not as important as how I define money market, but rather how the SEC defines money market. And importantly, a money market fund is a special type of mutual fund. It's an open-ended fund. But what makes money market funds unique is that it has a dollar NAV. So a constant NAV is very different than other types of mutual funds that you might find in the industry. The general characteristics of a money market fund tend towards having very conservative investments, typically with a very short investment horizon, usually 397 days or less. They have very constrained credit guidelines.
How would you say those assets are typically invested in a money market fund?
Well, the underlying assets of a money market fund, again, tend to be very conservative. So they will have a relatively short maturity. They will be high in credit quality. In particular, government money market funds will only allow investment in particular government securities. But generally, you're looking at very conservative, very safe investments with, on average, in a money market fund, a very short maturity.
So, based on that very safe, fairly what I'll call plain vanilla description there of the assets in a money market fund, why the need for money market reform?
Well, that's a great question. And I think much of the money market reform drive by the SEC occurred because of the reserve fund, which was a money market fund, a dollar NAV money market fund that broke the buck during the global investment crisis. So that fund was tied up for an extended period of time, and participants, investors in that fund, had a write-down of 3 cents per dollar. So it was quite a traumatic event, in particular for the regulators, because money market funds are intended to be a very conservative investment vehicle.
As money market reform starts to take effect later this year, on a high level, what's going to stay the same with money market funds? What's going to change?
Well, interestingly, this is not the first reform that the SEC has implemented for money.